World building. Alright, so today's focus is going to be World Building 101, languages, building languages, because that's something I really like to do and it's really fun and it's sort of sparking the inner linguist in me. So let's get started. Alright, so I have built 2 languages. Both of them appear in my first book, which you already know about because I've already talked about it. So, the first language is Belarusian, and I actually wrote some poetry in the language that I created because why not? Because I'm a big nerd. So just so you can hear what Belarusian sounds like, and if any of you like speak Japanese at all, or you know what Japanese sounds like, then you'll know that a lot of the phonetic sounds are heavily influenced by the Japanese language. So, without further ado, this one is called the Belarusian Waltz. Ne korikare yo, biko yo, sona posutaya amira lumitsu. Which translates to, don't worry, you, little you, the sun and stars light your path. And the next one is called Yaya's Lullaby. Omoku, shanyela chanboko ronri, yorenu, iroku hatarashita. Numi yo fufure, karenmishia, nemure, sutararka demure. Which means, slowly tiptoe across the room. Go now, you worked hard. Blow out the light. Crawl into bed. Sleep. Become strong. And building this language was a lot of fun for me. And hopefully the elements that I talk about in this video will help you build yours. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is word order for your sentences. I'm only going to use 2 examples here. Because I'm not trying to make like a super long video. So I'm going to use subject, object, verb, and subject, verb, object. So, for example, in English it is subject, verb, object. The dog chased the cat. However, you could also do subject, object, verb, which would be dog, the cat chased, which is the case in Japanese. Inu wa neko o oikakeru. Dog wa cat o run or chased after. Oikakeru, chases after. So think about what kind of sentence order that you would like. And another thing that you can be thinking about in relation to this is postpositions and prepositions. So in English, you might have heard the word prepositions because that's what we have. We have prepositions. Prepositions are anywhere that a bird can fly. So up, down, across, inside, outside, over, above, below, down, up. Did I already say down and up? Anywhere a bird can fly. Which, when I told my mom this, she said it was like I learned it in school, and she said that's a cop-out because when I was in school we had to memorize every single preposition. But for simplicity's sake, anywhere that a bird can fly. And our prepositions always come before the word because of the word preposition, preposition. So we would say in the box. Something is in the box. In is the preposition, and it goes in front of box. If you want your language to have postpositions, so you would have it after the word, it would be the box in. So that's the case in Japanese as well. So it would be hako ni. Hako is box, ni is in. So if you want to say in the box, you would say hako ni. You wouldn't say ni hako because that makes no sense. So those are some things you can think about as far as sentence structure. another thing you want to think about is, where do you want to put your adjectives? Do you want to put them before the noun or after the noun? So obviously we put our adjectives in front of the noun. So blue cat. Don't ask me why blue cat was the first thing that came to mind, but blue cat. Although there are other languages such as Spanish, French, in which the modifier or the adjective comes afterwards, so it'd be cat, blue. And actually, I have an example in one of the languages I built, which is called Hinaslera. But I'm saving that example for slang and insults, because that's what that example is. It's an insult. So yeah, where do you want to put your adjectives? Isn't this bow gorgeous? I wish I could get it on the camera. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about are the, and plural. And that kind of, it seems like talking about those things together won't really make sense, but I have an example. So we're gonna talk about bananas, because we go bananas for world building. So in English, we have banana, the banana, a banana. Look, switch those. Banana, a banana, the banana. Then we have bananas and the bananas. So the only way I can think to explain this is by giving you examples. So in Swedish, they don't really have a separate word for the as such. They tack it on at the end of the word. So banana is banan. A banana is en banan. And whatever you use for a, in Swedish, depending, it's et or en. In this case, it's en. So en banan. And whatever that is, that's what you use for the. So the banana becomes bananen. So banan, en banan, bananen. Bananas and the bananas. So they also don't have like an S at the end for plural. They do have it for possession. So if you want to say this book belongs to Ander, you would say Anders book. But we're not talking about possessive yet. We're talking about plural. So bananas would be, it wouldn't be banans. Bananas would be bananer. Bananer, yes. And then the bananas would be bananerna. So there's no the and there's no like S at the end like we have in English. So all of that put together, it would be banana, a banana, the banana, bananas, the bananas, banan, en banan, bananen, bananer, bananerna. And if you want your language to be that, you know, that complicated, like you want to just add on to the word instead of just adding separate words and separate parts of it like we do, you can use that as maybe an example. Or you could be like Japanese, in which every case, it's all going to be the same. It's the English loan word banana. So it doesn't matter what it is. Banana, 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 banana. It's all the same. You just figure it out from context. The bananas, banana, a banana, banana. So what do you want to do with your language? It's up to you. Alright, now we're going to talk about possessive. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. Each example I'm going to use 2 languages for. So I'm going to use, what am I using? English, Swedish, Spanish, and Japanese. So the first example, what is going on? Why is it not focusing? So for the first example, it'll be the most familiar to you if you are watching this and your native language is English. Sarah's book. So the name of the person, apostrophe S, and the object, Sarah's book. And it's a similar thing in Swedish, except they don't have the apostrophe, they just stick the S on there. So if you want to say Anders book, Anders bok. It's that simple. If you want to play with sentence structure a little more, you can go more the route of Spanish or Japanese, because those are more similar to each other. So if you want to say Maria's book, you say Libro de Maria. Or if you want to say in Japanese, Yamada's book, Yamada no hon. So in Spanish, libro would be the book, and de would be the connector. So libro, book, de, of Maria. And in Japanese, it will be Yamada no hon, and hon means book. I know now that I think about it, I probably should have made each of those their own examples because the order is switched. But in the first example, it's Book of Maria. And the second example is Yamada's book, but instead of like S or apostrophe S, they put no. Which, how do I explain that? No can be used so many different ways, but the no particle, in this case, is possessive. So Yamada no hon is Yamada's book. Tanaka no hon is Tanaka's book. Tanaka no kuruma is Tanaka's car. Does that make sense? Is this helping? I hope it's helping. Okay, this one is probably going to be like super nitpicky detail, but in your language, how do they pronounce their R's? Because in all across languages and dialects and accents, people cannot figure out, like they not figure out, but they can't like agree on how to pronounce the letter R. So in English, we have sort of two ways that we pronounce R, but you don't really think about it. So think of the word road. You're making the R sound with your lips, road. But think of the R at the end of the word car. You're not saying car. It ends at the back of your throat, car. You make it more with your tongue. You make the sound more with your tongue rather than your lips. So the R in road is different from the R in car. In other languages or dialects, they pronounce the R more like an L. If you watch Joanna Rants, I remember her talking about, I forgot which country, was it Puerto Rico, where she was complaining how their R's sound like L's and they say importa, and if I remember the video, I will link it below because her videos are funny. In other languages and dialects, R is pronounced like an alveolar tap. And if you are not very savvy with linguistic terms, which, I mean, half of the ones I knew went out the window, but for some reason I remember the term alveolar tap. We in English have an alveolar tap, but we don't use it for the letter R. We use it for like a double TT or double DD. So when you say better, butter, ladder, the double TT and the double DD in the middle of that word is not t or d, it's a d. It's when you tap at sort of like the base, the top base of your teeth, like the barrier between like your teeth and your gums. That's an alveolar tap. So you don't say better or butter, you say better, butter. And that da sound, that is the alveolar tap. That sound repeatedly is a trill, so like rolling your R's, like in Spanish. I can't roll my R's. I got like A+ in my Spanish classes in junior high, but the one thing I could not do was roll my R's. But, so in your language, how do they pronounce their R's? Do they pronounce it like R, or do they pronounce it like ra, like they do in Japanese? So a lot of people who aren't really familiar with Japanese, they would say arigato, but there's no r sound in Japan. It's ra, so it'd be arigato, which if you heard it in the beginning of the poems that I created in Belarusian, the Belarusian R is a r, it's an alveolar tap. And I guess I can talk about maybe sort of like dialects where the R is just sort of like mold over, or I don't know how to explain it, but instead of saying bird, it's bud, or instead of saying earl, it's earl, or earl, or you know what I mean. So how would they pronounce L's in your language? Or L's, did I say L's? R's. How would they pronounce R's? Let's see, another one that's common that people don't really think about, guttural stops. We don't really think about it, but we do have guttural stops in English. So instead of saying better, it's betta, or instead of saying button, it's button. So those are some examples of guttural stops. I can't think of any guttural stops in other languages, but it's pretty much like I don't know how to make it, button, like the middle of the word button. It's that sound. Are there clicks? Are there bilabial trills? And bi meaning two, labial meaning lips. So bilabial trills would be like so that's something else you can put into your language. And how about aspirations? In English, we love our aspirations. P, t, k. All these really hard consonants where like air is puffing out of your lips. P, p, p. But not every language likes to aspirate those consonants. So let's see, tall would become doll. Not doll with a hard D, but like doll. Try aspirating without, not aspirating, try saying T, P, or K. Like put paper in front of your lips. So, so you see that the paper's moving. If you want to get rid of that aspiration, then instead of saying like pancakes, you would say pancakes. Pancakes, pancakes. So there are languages like Spanish, for example, and I think I'm just gonna say Spanish for now. So Spanish is not very big on aspirations. So like if you hear someone say aunt, it's not tia, it's tia. Does that make sense? There's no aspiration, no air coming out of your mouth when you use that sound. So now we're on to slang and curse words and insults. So, I mean, you can be as creative and as colorful as you would like to be with curse words and slang. I mean, I can give you examples. So, back to that example that I promised you before from the other language that I built. Not Belarusian, but Slera. So, in this part in the book, one of my character who speaks this language, he just, he was in a fight and his hand was just cut off. And I heard somewhere that no matter how many languages you speak, if you stub your toe, you're going to curse in your mother tongue. So I guess this counts because he's fluently speaking the main character's language, but then as soon as this happens to him, he reverts to his native language. And so it's which means some no good slanty-eyed pirate cut off my hand. So yeah, that's an insult, all right. But if we're gonna go back to grammar, so akpiro malyud, so some no good pirate. So ak is just sort of like you know, that kind of thing. It doesn't really have any definition. But piro maliud means pirate, no good. So that's, I think I actually remember the term for this, post-positive adjective. So the adjective that comes after the noun. And then when he said, you know, his hand, he chopped off my hand, he says fiachadnon, which is hand mine. Instead of saying my hand, he says fiachadnon. So that's another instance of an adjective being put after a noun. Have I thoroughly confused you? I'm sorry. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is the topic of tones. Tones, intonation, things like that. And sort of like different syllables and how different tone or the syllable length can make a different word. So sometimes a language is just musical and pretty. I think that's what I think about Swedish. It's very musical, and there are tones that you wouldn't really see if you just read the words. So take the word for leg. It is spelled B-E-N, but it's pronounced bien. So it's not ben, it's bien, which that's one thing I love about Swedish. However, there are certain languages where tones change the word, which a good example is Mandarin, but I don't know Mandarin. I tried. I tried. I know some examples, but I don't want to butcher the language. But you can go anywhere on the internet and listen to what the 4 different tones of Mandarin Chinese. So yeah. So as far as syllables, I'm going to use English and Japanese as the 2 counterparts. So in English, it doesn't matter if you say car or car. One is a vehicle that you drive, and then the other one is a vehicle that you drive, except you said it longer. So in Japanese, that's not the case. So take T-O-R-I and then T-O-O-R-I. Tori, the first one, is a bird. Tori, the one at the bottom, is a road. And I mean, I exaggerated the last one a little bit. It's just you can hear the difference. But tori and tori are not the same thing. They're 2 completely different words. Also, the elongated vowel sound, it adds a syllable. It affects the syllable count. So tori, bird, has 2 syllables. Tori has 3 syllables. So that's something cool that you can play around with. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe this video is just stressing you out and I'm just a big language nerd. Oh geez, I didn't talk about like the gender of objects. Okay, so really quickly, really quick example because I don't want this video to be too long. You can also put into your language masculine and feminine nouns. So, for example, in Spanish, masculine nouns are preceded by L. I've known this forever and I choose now to mess it up. Masculine nouns are preceded by L and feminine nouns are preceded by la. So some examples are el dormitorio, the bedroom, or la profesora, the female professor, or la mano, which is hand, so the hand. So hand is feminine, whereas el dormitorio is masculine. So bedroom is masculine. So yeah, that's something you can think about. I was going to talk a little bit about dialects, but the dialect that I wrote into one of my current whips, the way that they talk it doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. Like these characters, they speak like an urbanized version of the language. So if I remember, I'll take a chunk of that from my whip and then put it in the description so you can visually see it, because trust me, I've tried speaking it out loud and it sounds really weird coming out of like my mouth specifically because of the way that I personally speak. Yeah, languages. Building them is fun. You know what? I didn't talk about verbs. Do you want me to talk about verbs? I just sat here for 5 minutes thinking of all of the examples I could use for verbs and adjectives. We'll be here for a long time. So maybe I'll just split this video. I'll split this video up. Next time I can talk about verbs and adjectives if you want me to. If you comment or tweet me at BGBFS. If you comment here or tweet me, then yeah, I can do that. If not, that's cool too. But I don't want to make this video much longer because all my videos are really long. And here I am ranting again, so I'm going to cut that off. So yeah, the first thing you should know is have fun. Have fun building your language. And I hope this video helped even a little bit. Until next time, bye.